What if the secret to unbreakable confidence was not thinking positive, but staring your deepest fears right in the face? Before we begin, if you are tired of being a prisoner to your own thoughts and want practical, no-nonsense strategies to build a fortress-like mind, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. We are all about turning ancient wisdom into modern power. I want you to imagine something for a second. Everything you are working for, everything you are anxious about protecting, your career, your relationships, your reputation, imagine it all goes wrong. And not just a little wrong. I mean catastrophically wrong. Now, modern advice tells us to banish those thoughts, right? To visualize success, manifest victory, and live in a state of never-ending optimism. But what happens when that relentless positivity is just a fragile mask, ready to shatter at the first sign of real trouble? What happens when you feel like a failure, just for feeling fear? The ancient Stoics, these were philosophers who walked the halls of power in imperial Rome, who faced down plagues, political chaos, and exile. They had a much more powerful strategy. And it might sound a little crazy. They did not run from the darkness. They chose to walk right into it. In this video, I'm going to show you the ancient practice, premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. This is the Stoic secret to turning your anxiety from a source of crippling dread into a source of strength, preparation, and a truly invincible kind of confidence that no misfortune can even touch. Stick with me, and you will learn more than a mental trick. You will learn a profound shift in perspective that has been battle-tested for over 2,000 years. 1. The tyranny of positive thinking. In our world today, we are sold one prescription for a happy life: think positive. We are told to curate our thoughts like a social media feed. Only the bright, shiny, and optimistic are allowed. We are flooded with phrases like, good vibes only, manifest your dreams, and just be positive. The self-help industry, a multi-billion-dollar giant, is built almost entirely on this one simple idea, that you can think your way to a better life. And look, sometimes that can be a helpful nudge. But for a lot of us, this constant pressure to be positive becomes its own kind of tyranny. It creates this quiet, nagging shame whenever a negative thought pops into our heads. When you are anxious about a big presentation, worried about money, or grieving a loss, hearing someone say, just look on the bright side, does not just feel dismissive, it can feel cruel. It implies that your negative feelings are a personal failing, a lack of mental discipline. This is the subtle poison of toxic positivity. It denies our reality. It tells us to suppress emotions that are not only genuine but valid, and suppressed emotions do not just vanish, they fester. They grow in the dark, turning manageable worries into these huge, shapeless monsters. That vague anxiety that something might go wrong at work becomes a paralyzing dread that follows you everywhere. The fear of losing a relationship becomes a constant, gnawing insecurity that ends up poisoning the very connection you are trying to protect. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, knew this. He famously said that we often suffer more in our imagination than in reality. But he was not saying we should ignore our imagination. He understood that a mind that only ever expects sunshine is completely unprepared for the storm that will inevitably come. The problem with only visualizing the positive is that it leaves you fragile. Your confidence is built on the hope that nothing bad will ever happen. But life is not like that, is it? Projects fail. People leave. Sickness arrives. And when your only tool is to think positive, the first real negative event can make your entire world collapse. So the Stoics asked a different question. What if, instead of building a fragile shield of optimism, we trained ourselves to be so strong that we did not need a shield at all? What if we stopped running from the darkness and chose to face it, on our own terms, in a controlled way, to strip it of its power? This is not pessimism. This is strategic preparation. This is the foundation of premeditatio malorum. 2. The Stoic cure, an introduction to premeditatio malorum. So what is this practice? The Latin phrase premeditatio malorum means the premeditation of evils. It is the deliberate, intentional practice of imagining things going wrong in your life. Now, I know what you are thinking. That sounds morbid. It sounds like a recipe for anxiety, not a cure for it. But that is only because we're looking at it through our modern lens. For the Stoics, this was the key to mental toughness. Seneca wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." He argued that the shock of a surprise attack is often worse than the attack itself. By thinking about potential misfortunes in advance, things like exile, illness, or financial ruin, Stoic was not trying to make them happen. They were rehearsing. They were running a fire drill for the soul. Think about it. We do this in every other part of our lives. Pilot spends hundreds of hours in a flight simulator practicing how to handle an engine failure. A boxer spars for weeks to prepare for the chaos of a real fight. A city creates an emergency plan for a hurricane. We see this as smart and responsible. The Stoics just applied that exact same logic to the emotional challenges of being human. This whole practice is built on the most fundamental idea in Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. The philosopher Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and became a legendary teacher, taught that some things are up to us and others are not. What is in our control? Our choices, our responses, our opinions. What is not in our control? Our bodies, our reputation, our money, and what other people do. The Stoics said that almost all of our anxiety comes from trying to control things we cannot, while forgetting to manage the one thing we can, our own mind. Premeditatio malorum is the ultimate training ground for this idea. When you visualize something negative, like getting laid off from your job, you are facing an external event that is largely out of your control. You cannot control your company's finances. But by visualizing it beforehand, you can start practicing what is in your control, your response. You can think through the steps you would take. You can prepare for the emotional hit. You can plan your next move. As Seneca would say, the wise person knows that anything is possible. They do not just hope for the best and leave it at that. They are prepared for the worst. Their confidence does not come from a belief that they will never fall. It comes from the deep knowledge that, fall, they will know how to get back up. This is not about creating negativity. It is about engineering resilience. It is the art of turning fear into your greatest tool. Three, the psychological power of visualizing failure. So why does this ancient practice actually work so well? It turns out modern psychology is just now catching up to what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. The benefits of this counterintuitive habit are profound. First, and this is a big one, it destroys vague anxiety. Our minds are terrible at dealing with undefined threats. That fear of, what if something bad happens, is a shapeless, shadowy monster, and it can be absolutely terrifying. Firsterus premeditatio malorum forces you to turn on the lights. It makes you define the something bad. Instead of a fuzzy worry about a project failing, you visualize it in detail. The awkward presentation, the disappointed client, the tough conversation with your boss. And when you do this, funny thing happens. The monster shrinks. By giving your fear a specific shape, you turn it from a paralyzing dread into a concrete problem, and problems have solutions. You start to realize that even the worst-case scenario is almost always survivable. Your world does not end. Life goes on. Second, it builds psychological resilience. Think of this practice as a kind of mental vaccine. A vaccine introduces a tiny, weakened version of a virus to trigger an immune response. Negative visualization introduces a simulated version of adversity to trigger a psychological one. Every time you calmly think about loss or failure, you build a small callus on your mind. You are practicing voluntary discomfort. By repeatedly facing these ideas in a controlled way, you reduce their power to shock and overwhelm you in real life. Stoic confidence is not, I will succeed. It is, I will be okay, even if I fail. This practice is what gets you to that deep, unshakable sense of okay. Third, it drives you to take action. This is where negative visualization proves it is an intensely practical tool, not just some morbid daydream. When you visualize a bad outcome, you do not just see the end result. You start to see the path that leads there. If you imagine your business failing, you might pinpoint the reasons. Maybe poor cash flow, a weak marketing plan, or not paying enough attention to customers. That detailed picture does not lead to despair. It leads to a to-do list. Now you can build up a cash reserve. You can work on your marketing. You can create a system to follow up with clients. You go from the passive state of worrying to the active state of preparing. As Seneca wrote, a wise person always considers that something could block their plans. By thinking about what could block your plans, you put yourself in the best possible position to make sure they are not blocked. And finally, and this is the most beautiful part, it creates profound gratitude. This is the secret gift of premeditatio malorum. After you spend 10 minutes vividly imagining that you have lost your job, or that a relationship has ended, or that your health has failed, you then open your eyes, and you realize, with this sudden breathtaking clarity, that none of it has happened. Your job is still there. The person you love is still with you. Your body is still working. The feeling that washes over you is not just relief. It is a deep, powerful gratitude for this very moment. The things you took for granted just minutes before are suddenly revealed to be precious, fragile gifts. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius was constantly reminding himself to focus on the present. Negative visualization is a powerful way to pull your mind back from worrying about the future and anchor it in a deep appreciation for what you have right here, right now. Before we get into exactly how you can start using this powerful technique, I am curious, have you ever felt that all the pressure to think positive has actually made you feel worse? Let me know your experience in the comments below. It is an important conversation, and sharing your story might really help someone else feel less alone. 4. A practical guide to premeditatio malorum. Alright, so understanding the philosophy is one thing, but putting it into practice is where the magic happens. Premeditatio malorum is not complicated, but it is intentional. Think of it as a workout for your resilience. Here is a simple 4-step guide to start using this in your own life. Step 1. Choose your fear and start small. When you first start, please do not jump into visualizing your biggest existential dread. That is like trying to bench press 300 pounds on your first day at the gym. You have to build the muscle first. Start with a small, manageable anxiety. Maybe it is the fear of being late for a meeting, messing up your words in a conversation, or getting a critical email from your boss. Just pick one specific, near-term fear to work with. Step 2. Visualize the negative outcome in vivid detail. Set aside 5 or 10 minutes where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes. Now, do not just think the thought, what if the meeting goes badly? I want you to live it in your mind. Walk yourself through it, moment by moment. Or in your car, stuck in traffic that is not moving, you watch the clock on your dashboard tick past the meeting start time. Feel that knot of anxiety tightening in your stomach. Imagine walking into the room 20 minutes late. See the faces turn to you, some annoyed, some feeling sorry for you. You start your presentation, but you are flustered. You forget a key statistic. Your laptop will not connect to the projector. You cannot find the right file. Feel the heat of embarrassment crawling up your neck. Imagine the awkward silence when you finish. The key here is not to wallow in the feeling, but to observe it. Acknowledge the embarrassment without letting it take over. Then follow the scenario to its end. What happens next? You pack up your laptop. You walk back to your desk. People move on. The world does not end. Your life continues. Step 3. Analyze and strategize. Once you have faced the worst in your mind, open your eyes and grab a notebook. This is the critical step where you turn fear into preparation. Ask yourself 2 incredibly powerful questions. First, what can I do right now to help prevent this from happening? For our example, the answers might be, I will leave 30 minutes earlier than I think I need to. We'll check the traffic before I leave. I will have a backup of my presentation on a USB stick and in the cloud. I will practice my opening until I can say it in my sleep. This is proactive problem solving. Second, if the worst case scenario does happen, how would I get through it and recover? The answer here might be, I would message ahead to let them know I am stuck. I would start with a calm, brief apology for the delay. I would follow up with an email to everyone with the full slide deck. I would remind myself that one bad meeting does not define my entire career, and I would focus on crushing the next one. This is how you build real confidence in your ability to handle anything. Step 4. Return to the present with gratitude. This final step is so important. After thinking about what could go wrong, consciously bring your mind back to right here, right now. Acknowledge that the disaster you just pictured has not happened. The meeting is still a week away. You have time to prepare. You are in control of your actions. Feel that sense of calm and appreciation that comes with this realization. You have just taken a vague fear, faced it, disarmed it, and used it to become stronger. You have turned anxiety into fuel. This simple act of returning to the present is what grounds the whole practice in empowerment, not dread. Conclusion. For so long, we have been taught to be afraid of our own fears, to run from negative thoughts, and hide from the idea of failure. But the Stoics offer us a radical, liberating alternative. True, invincible confidence is not born from the delusion that we will never face hard times. It is forged in the calm, deliberate, and courageous act of considering them. Premeditatio malorum is not a morbid obsession with what could go wrong. It is a deeply practical and empowering tool for building your resilience, making you prepared, and helping you feel profound gratitude for the life you have right now. It is the understanding that by visualizing your failure, you are not cursing your future, you are just building a stronger ship, ready for any storm. The Stoic does not pray for a lighter burden. They train for a stronger back. By looking your fears in the eye, you are not inviting them over for dinner. You are just letting them know that if they do show up, you will be ready. If this ancient wisdom for our modern world resonated with you, and you want to keep exploring these powerful ideas, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you do not miss what is next. Please give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow and helps other people find their way to a more resilient life. Thank you for watching. You know the feeling. Your mind is constantly racing, projecting one catastrophic future after another. You worry about your job, your relationships, your health. You have already lived through a dozen different crises before your coffee is even ready, leaving you emotionally drained before the day has truly begun. Your mind has become a battlefield for wars that have not started, over territory that might not even exist. This is not just stress. It is a state of being. It is that low human dread that has become the soundtrack to your life. You have tried to fix it, right? You have tried thinking your way out of it, finding the right app, or reading the right book, but the cycle just keeps going. What if the cure for this very modern problem was not modern at all? What if a Roman emperor, almost 200 years ago, laid out the exact blueprint to break this cycle of anxiety and find peace in the present moment? What if the man who ruled one of the most powerful empires in history, who stared down war, plague, and constant betrayal, developed a toolkit for mental resilience that is more relevant today than ever? This is not a history lesson. Think of this as a practical guide to taking back your mind from the chaos of the 21st century. The man we are talking about is Marcus Aurelius, the last of Rome's 5 good emperors, but more importantly, he was a philosopher, student of Stoicism. He never even meant to publish his thoughts. He wrote them for himself in a private journal we now call Meditations. This was not just theory for him, it was his lifeline. It was a series of exercises, reminders, and hard truths he used to govern himself, so he could then govern the world. The anxiety you feel, that feeling of being crushed by events you cannot control, is the exact same anxiety he felt. The only difference? He built a system to deal with it. System based on one simple, earth-shattering idea. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Over the next few minutes, We are going to unpack 8 of his most powerful principles. These are not just pretty quotes. They are battle-tested strategies for your mind. They are the ancient cure for your modern anxiety. Step 1. Control what you can control. First things first. The bedrock of all mental strength is this: the dichotomy of control. A philosopher named Epictetus, who heavily influenced Marcus, put it simply: some things are up to us, and others are not. What is up to us? Our opinions, our motivations, our desires, our actions, basically our own choices. What is not up to us? Well, pretty much everything else. Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, getting sick, traffic jams, and whether or not your boss even notices your hard work. So much of our anxiety comes from one place: trying to control things that are, by their very nature, uncontrollable. We pour all this mental and emotional energy into worrying about outcomes we have zero direct power over. It is like trying to command the ocean to be still. It is exhausting, and it is pointless. Marcus was constantly reminding himself of this. He would say, "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." So, how do we use this today? Think about your job. You cannot control if you get that promotion. You cannot control your boss's mood or the company stock price. But you can control the quality of your work. You can control your professionalism, your integrity, and how you react to feedback. Put all your energy there. If someone leaves a nasty comment online, you cannot control their opinion, but you can control your response. You can ignore it, learn from it, if there is a grain of truth, or respond with grace. Your peace is not in their hands. It is in your choice of how to react. This is not about being passive. It is about being strategic. It is about stopping a war you cannot win, so you can focus on the one battlefield you command, your own mind. Step 3. Stop complaining. Complaining has become our favorite pastime. We do it to bond, to vent, to feel heard. But to a Stoic, complaining is choosing to be a victim. Every single time you complain, you are reinforcing a story of helplessness. You are telling yourself, over and over, that you are powerless to your circumstances. Marcus had a brutally simple take on this. Everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. If it is unendurable, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well. This is not about bottling up your feelings. It is about making a choice between two paths: problem-solving or suffering. Complaining is the language of suffering. It fixates on the problem, marinates in the injustice of it all, and looks for sympathy instead of a solution. Think about it. You can spend all your energy telling everyone how unfair your project is. It might feel good for a second, like letting off steam, but it changes nothing. In fact, it just digs the grooves of negativity deeper into your mind. The Stoic alternative is to change the question. Instead of, "I cannot believe this is happening to me," you ask, "Okay, this is happening. What is my next move?" This tiny shift moves you from being a passive victim to an active player in your own life. You do not have to like it. You just have to recognize that complaining is a waste of the one resource you have to fix it: your focused will. The next time you feel the urge to complain, just pause. Ask yourself, is this helping? Is this moving me toward a solution? Or am I just screaming that I'm powerless? Choose the language of action, not grievance. Step 4. The obstacle is the way. This next idea is one of the most powerful and counterintuitive in all of philosophy. It is captured in a single line from Marcus Aurelius: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Read that again. For most of us, an obstacle is a reason to get frustrated, anxious, and maybe even quit. A difficult boss, a failed project, a sudden setback. These things block our path, and our first instinct is to hate them for being there. We think the road to our goals should be clear and easy, but the Stoics saw it completely differently. For them, the obstacle is not blocking the path. It is The path. The obstacle is an opportunity sent from the universe to practice a virtue. That rude person? An opportunity to practice patience, a financial setback, a chance to practice resilience and creativity. That impossible problem, a chance to practice persistence. Every force that seems to be breaking you is actually giving you the exact friction you need to become sharper, stronger, and better. Without these challenges, you would remain soft and untested. Here is a modern example. You are launching a business, and a huge competitor suddenly appears. The normal, anxious mind freaks out. It is a disaster, but the Stoic mind sees it differently. The competitor is the way. Their presence forces you to be more innovative, to serve your customers better, to clarify your message. The obstacle, the competition, is the very thing that will forge you into a stronger company. So when you face a setback, your first question should not be, "Why me?" It should be, "What can I practice right now?" This reframes everything. It turns you from a victim of fate into a student in life's ultimate gym. The obstacle is not in your way. The obstacle is your way. Step 5. Stop looking for likes. In our world of social media, we have built a global economy on external validation. Likes, shares, and follower counts have become the new currency for self-worth. Repost a picture and then nervously refresh the page, our mood bouncing up and down with every notification. We have literally outsourced our self-esteem to strangers on the internet. Marcus Aurelius would have called this voluntary slavery. He wrote, "The happiness of those who want to be popular depends on others, but the happiness of the wise grows out of their own free acts." He constantly questioned the logic of seeking approval from people we do not even respect. He asked himself, "You want praise from people who kick themselves every 15 minutes, the approval of people who despise themselves." When you hear it put like that, the whole chase seems ridiculous, does not it? For a Stoic, your value comes from one place and one place only, your own character. The goal is to build an internal scorecard based on your principles that you live by no matter what the world thinks. When your own opinion of yourself matters more than anyone else's, you become psychologically bulletproof. This does not mean you ignore other people. Stoicism is deeply social. It just means your actions are driven by your character, not by a need for applause. You do the right thing because it is the right thing, period, not because you are hoping for a digital thumbs up. The next time you go to post something, ask yourself, am I sharing this to contribute, or am I sharing this to get validation? Before making a decision, ask, am I doing this because it aligns with my values, or because I think it will make me look good? Build your house on the solid rock of your character, not the shifting sands of public opinion. Step 6. Discipline is your best friend, not motivation. Our culture is obsessed with motivation. We think we have to feel inspired before we can act. We wait for a magical wave of enthusiasm to carry us to the gym or to that difficult task we have been putting off. And when that feeling never shows up, we stay right where we are, stuck. The Stoics would say we have it completely backward. Action comes first. Discipline is the engine. Motivation is just a fun, but totally unreliable passenger. Think about it. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome. He could have spent every morning wrapped in luxury. But he wrote this to himself, trying to get out of bed. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I am going to do what I was born for? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? That is the voice of discipline. It does not care how you feel. It remembers its purpose, and it moves. The crazy part is, the action itself is what creates the motivation. You do not feel motivated, so you go to the gym. You push through it, and when you are done, you finally feel amazing and motivated. Momentum is born from motion. Discipline is the ultimate act of self-love. It is doing what your future self will thank you for, even when your present self is begging for comfort. It is about building habits that run on autopilot, so you do not have to waste energy making the same decision over and over. so stop waiting for motivation. It is a flaky friend and never shows up when you need it. Cultivate discipline instead. Just put your feet on the floor. Rise. The action will create the feeling you have been waiting for. We have just walked through an ancient operating system for the human mind, one designed for resilience in a world of chaos. These are not just ideas, they are tools. But like any tool, they are useless until you pick them up and put them to work. If this resonated with you, and you want to keep exploring practical philosophy for a better life, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And now, a question for you. Of these 8 principles, which one do you need to practice the most in your life right now? Is it letting go of what you cannot control? Is it kicking the complaining habit? Or is it remembering your time is finite? Leave a comment below and share which idea hit you the hardest. Just writing it down is the first step to making it real. A conclusion. We started with the problem of modern anxiety, that endless, looping nightmare of overthinking and catastrophizing. We have explored 8 timeless principles from a man who faced unimaginable pressure with calm and purpose. From the dichotomy of control to memento mori, the core message from Marcus Aurelius is this: the world outside you is not the source of your chaos, and so it can never be the source of your peace. Your peace is your own responsibility. It comes from mastering your inner world, your perceptions, your judgments, and your choices. You cannot control the storm, but you can become the unshakable calm in its center. Anxiety is a fire, and it is fed by our own untamed thoughts. By applying these Stoic principles, you are learning to become the master of that fire, to starve it of fuel and harness its energy for warmth and light, instead of letting it burn you down. The cure for modern anxiety is ancient, because the human mind really has not changed. You already have the power to discard your anxiety, because it was never outside of you to begin with. As Marcus himself wrote, "Today I escaped anxiety," or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. Realize this, and you will find strength. What if you could stop someone mid-sentence, make them hang on your every word, and command their full attention, all without saying a thing? This is not about being rude. It is about mastering the most powerful and most misunderstood tool of communication, the intentional pause. In a world that screams for our attention, that rewards the fastest reply and the loudest voice, we have forgotten something important. We've forgotten that true power is not about volume. It is about control. Real power is not being loud, it is being unshakably clear. We have been taught to fight for airtime, to see any gap in conversation as a weakness, a void we have to fill before we lose our turn. But the ancient Stoics, philosophers who were masters of self-command, knew a profound secret. They knew that the space between stimulus and response is where our freedom lies. In conversation, that space is the pause. Today, we are going to learn how to wield it. We will deconstruct the anatomy of a powerful silence and give you the tools to reclaim your voice, not by talking more, but by pausing with purpose. The problem, the agony of the interruption. Let us be honest. There is a specific, soul-crushing sting that comes from being interrupted. You know the moment. You are in the meeting, you have finally gathered your thoughts, and you are about to make that crucial point. You open your mouth, and just as the idea takes shape, a colleague jumps in. Actually, to build on that, he says, which is corporate speak for, "I am going to say my own idea now, and pretend it was inspired by you." The room's attention snaps from you to him. Your point, your momentum, your confidence, it all vanishes into the stale air of the conference room. You are left with 2 terrible options. Interrupt him back, escalating the tension and looking petty, or shrink into your chair, defeated, your idea dying on your lips. In that moment, the room does not see your silence as politeness. They see it as subordination. This does not just happen at work. It happens at the dinner table with family who think their stories are more important. It happens with friends so eager to share their own news they trample all over yours. Each interruption sends the same subconscious message. What you have to say matters less than what I have to say. And the more it happens, the more we start to believe it. People who feel insecure in a conversation rush to fill every void. They talk fast. They ramble. They seek constant approval. This need to speak does not project confidence. It betrays a lack of it and gives away their power. They fear silence because they do not trust that what they have to say is valuable enough for people to wait for, so they build a wall of noise, hoping volume will be mistaken for substance. This creates a vicious cycle. When you are constantly talked over, you start to anticipate it. You speed up, trying to get your point out before the inevitable cutoff. You get louder. You repeat yourself. Your delivery becomes a frantic race to the finish line. And the tragic irony is that this rushed, needy delivery projects the exact opposite of the authority you are trying to claim. An audience reads it as weakness, not strength. You lose the battle for composure in a desperate attempt to win the battle for airtime, and you end up losing both. Two, the agitation, the psychological toll of being unheard. The sting of being interrupted is more than a fleeting annoyance. It is a subtle disrespect that chips away at your very foundation. When you are repeatedly cut off, it is not just about losing your turn to speak. It is about feeling like you have lost your place. In interaction, we are subconsciously signaling and reading signals of confidence and authority. When someone interrupts you, they have, in that micro moment, asserted dominance. They have controlled the conversation, and by extension, positioned you as lesser. Your mind registers this as a small social defeat. When these defeats pile up, they become corrosive. You start to second-guess yourself. Was my idea not good enough? Maybe I am just not clear. Maybe I should just stay quiet. This inner monologue is the slow poisoning of your confidence. You start to shrink, making yourself smaller to avoid the pain of being cut down. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The less you speak, the less you are seen, and the less you are valued. You become present in the room, but not accounted for. This feeling is profoundly isolating. It is the frustration of knowing you have something to contribute, but being denied the space to do so. The Stoics understood that our inner state, our inner citadel, is the only thing we truly control, but a constant barrage of disrespect can feel like an assault on its walls. The anger that builds up is natural, but it is a trap. Reacting with frustration just makes you look too emotional or difficult, especially at work. You end up not only being unheard, but also misjudged, caught in a trap where you either suffer in silence or speak up and risk being penalized. This is the real cost of being unheard. It is not just about the words left unsaid. It is about the confidence that withers and the slow erosion of your sense of self-worth. It is the feeling of constantly fighting a battle just to prove your value in a world that seems determined to talk over you. If you have ever felt that sting of being interrupted, that frustration of being talked over, comment below with the word composure. You are not alone, and the solution is closer than you think. 3. The solution, the Stoic power of the pause. So, how do we break this cycle? If talking louder does not work, and surrendering is a slow poison, what is left? The solution is a third path. Not aggressive, not passive, but active, intentional, and powerful. It is the Stoic pause. The Stoics, from Emperor Marcus Aurelius to the freed slave Epictetus, built their philosophy on one idea. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control your response. The tiny gap between an event, the stimulus, and your reaction is where your power lives. An interruption is a stimulus. Your impulse to either fight back or shrink away is the reaction. The Stoic pause is the act of consciously widening that gap. When you are interrupted, you think the battle is for airtime. The Stoic knows the real battle is for composure. Lose your composure, and you have already lost, no matter who is talking. The pause is your weapon in this fight. It is not an empty space of fear. It is a structured, charged, and deliberate silence. It is a power move. When you intentionally pause, you shift the entire dynamic. Our brains find unexpected silence unsettling. It creates controlled uncertainty. The interrupter, who is feeding off the friction of your speech, is suddenly alone in the spotlight. By refusing to fight back or fold, you defy their expectations and seize control of the interaction as rhythm. This is not giving up. It is demonstrating a higher form of control. Calmness is the ultimate signal of power. While the interrupter shows a lack of self-control, your deliberate silence communicates unshakable confidence. It says, "I am so secure in the value of my point that I will not be rushed." It says, "I decide when I speak." This is the mindset of the Stoic pause. Your inner peace is the victory. Your goal is not to win the argument, but to maintain your own clarity and self-respect. By mastering the pause, you transform an act of disrespect into a chance to display superior self-command. Now, let us move from philosophy to practice. Here are 3 ways to wield the Stoic pause and retake control of any conversation. The wall of silence. This is your first line of defense for the exact moment someone cuts you off. The execution is deceptively simple. The instant they start talking over you, you do one thing. You stop talking, completely, abruptly. Do not trail off. Do not rush to finish. Cut your own voice off. Then, turn your full, calm attention to them. No eye rolling, no sighing, no looking away. Just hold neutral, steady eye contact. Your posture is relaxed, but solid. You are not angry or annoyed. You are simply waiting. What happens next is psychological magic. The interrupter expected a fight. When you go silent, their momentum crashes into a wall. The attention in the room is now solely on them. And for someone trying to steal the spotlight, this is often deeply uncomfortable. They will likely run out of steam, their point sounding weaker now that it stands alone. After they finish, and this is crucial, you do not respond to their interruption. Let one single, sovereign second of silence hang in the air. This beat says, that was their interruption. Now, we return to the conversation. Then, with the same calm tone, you say a simple phrase like, "as I was saying," and you pick up your original sentence exactly where you left off. This communicates a powerful message. Your interruption was an irrelevant distraction. It had no effect. It did not derail me. You have asserted your right to speak, not by being louder, but by showing your conversational frame is stronger than theirs. The thoughtful pause, the weight of consideration. This technique is more subtle. It is not about reacting to an interruption, but about conditioning people to listen to you from the start. Use the thoughtful pause before you answer a question or make a key point. We feel pressure to have an instant answer, to show we are quick-witted, but this is a trap. Fast answers often feel automatic and can lack weight. The thoughtful pause flips this script. When someone asks you an important question, do not rush. Pause. Hold their gaze for 2 or 3 seconds. You can give a slight nod, as if weighing the question with the seriousness it deserves. This small act has a profound effect. First, it creates anticipation. The silence pulls the listener's attention towards you, amplifying the impact of your words. When you speak with deliberation, your words gain value. Second, it signals confidence. A person comfortable with silence is secure in their own thoughts. It says, I am not just giving a pre-programmed response. I am giving you a considered one. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wrote that speech is a mirror of the mind. A rushed mind produces rushed speech. A calm mind produces calm speech. The thoughtful pause is the physical manifestation of a calm and ordered mind. Try it. When asked a question, just pause. Take a quiet breath. Hold their gaze. Then deliver your answer. You will notice an immediate shift in how people react. They will listen more intently. They will interrupt you less. Stakes situations, using silence to say no or disagree without being confrontational. We are often taught that no requires a long explanation, but this just opens the door for negotiation. The no pause sets a firm boundary with minimal conflict. It operates on the principle that a clear, calm boundary needs no defense. Imagine a colleague asks you to take on work you cannot handle. Your instinct is to list all the reasons you are too busy. This is a mistake. It invites them to solve your schedule for you. Instead, deploy the no pause. After they make their request, hold the space with a calm, neutral silence for a few seconds. Look at them directly, not with aggression, but with quiet consideration. The silence makes it clear their request is not a simple yes. After the pause, deliver your response with clarity and brevity. No long apology, no defensive excuses. State your position as a simple fact. A powerful phrase is, "I understand why you are asking, but I will not be able to do that." Or even more simply, "That is not going to be possible." Then, hold the silence again. Do not rush to fill it. Your calm, unwavering silence is the boundary. It communicates more powerfully than any explanation that the decision is final. You are not being rude, you are being clear. The Stoics taught that we must be honest about our own capacities. This technique separates the decision from the emotion. You are not rejecting the person, you are declining the request. It is a profound act of self-respect, and people will be forced to respect the quiet strength of your conviction. Conclusion: we live in a world addicted to noise, conditioned to believe influence comes from being the loudest and fastest. But we have explored a more ancient truth, known to the Stoic emperors and philosophers. True power flows not from noise, but from stillness. We have extracted the pain of being interrupted and seen how fighting back only makes us look less in control, and we have found the solution in the disciplined practice of the Stoic pause. We learned the interruption pause to reclaim the conversation, the thoughtful pause to make our words matter, and the no pause to set unshakable boundaries. These are not just tricks. They are exercises in self-mastery. Every time you choose to pause instead of reacting, you are strengthening your own inner citadel. We're reminding yourself that your composure is your power, and your voice is worth waiting for. Silence is not empty. It is full of intent. Your task is this: go out and practice. Start small. In your next conversation, pause 4 seconds before you answer. Feel the shift. The next time you are cut off, just stop, breathe, and let the power of your silence speak for you. You will discover that by saying less, you are heard more. You will find that in the stillness, you can command a room. You learn, as the Stoics did, that the pause is not a weakness, but your most profound strength. If you found value in this, subscribe for more content on practical philosophy. And remember to watch our other video on building unshakable confidence. Stay calm and stay in control. What if I told you that weakness is not about how you look? It is not about your job title or the money in your bank account. It is about the words you use. Imagine standing before a man like Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome. He would not be impressed by your status. He would not measure your strength by the size of your muscles. He would simply listen. He would listen for the telltale phrases that give away a weak mind, the words that show you blame the world for your problems and run from your own power. These phrases are not just sounds. They are echoes of an inner surrender. They are the language of procrastination, fear, and a victim mentality. To a Stoic, your words are a diagnostic tool. They reveal the health of your soul. Are you the master of your inner world, or have you handed the keys over to circumstance? In this video, we are breaking down the 7 phrases of weak men, according to the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. More importantly, we will show you what to say instead, to build unshakable inner strength. This is about transforming your identity by transforming your language. 1. The first phrase of a weak man: it is not my fault. The first and most common phrase is, it is not my fault. When a project fails, a relationship ends, or an opportunity is lost, the weak mind instantly searches for something or someone else to blame. It is the economy, the boss, the traffic, the weather. Anyone or anything will do. As long as the spotlight of responsibility points away, this phrase is a declaration of powerlessness. It is an admission that you believe you are a puppet and the world is pulling your strings. Think about a guy who shows up late to a crucial meeting. He rushes in, flustered, blaming the traffic. To his colleagues, he is just making excuses. But to a Stoic, he is doing something far more damaging. He is telling himself a story where he has no control. The traffic was not his fault, no. But his failure to plan for it was lack. His lack of preparation was his choice. The Stoics teach that while we do not control external events, we have absolute control over our response to them. This is the core of your power. Blaming others is just a comfortable lie to avoid the hard truth of your own shortcomings. As Epictetus said, the beginner blames others, the intermediate student blames himself, but the wise man blames no one. He simply sees events as neutral and starts from there. Marcus Aurelius knew that responsibility was the foundation of character. He constantly reminded himself to look inward. Taking ownership is the first step toward progress. The strong man replaces "it is not my fault" with a simple, powerful statement, "I am responsible." He is not necessarily claiming fault for a random event, but he is taking total ownership of his response and his next move. He asks, "This happened, now what?" In doing so, from them, he takes his power back from circumstance and puts it right where it belongs, inside his own mind. To second phrase of a weak man, "I will do it tomorrow." Next up is the sweet poison of procrastination, "I will do it tomorrow." These words feel like a relief in the moment, but they create a debt that only grows over time. Every time you say tomorrow, you are training your mind to disobey your own commands. You are teaching yourself that your commitments do not matter. This is not just laziness, it is a form of self-betrayal. Think of the person who wants to get in shape. They buy the gym membership, they tell their friends, but when the alarm goes off, they hit snooze and mutter, "I will start tomorrow." Evening comes and they are too tired, so they say, "Definitely tomorrow." Tomorrow becomes this mythical land where all their goals are achieved, but it is a place they actually reach. As the philosopher Seneca warned, putting things off is the biggest waste of life. It snatches away each day as it comes, and denies us the present by promising the future. The weakness here is a fear of the present moment, a fear of discomfort and effort. You are not just postponing a task, you are postponing the person you claim you want to become. Marcus Aurelius was obsessed with the fleeting nature of time. He wrote to himself, "Think of your many years of procrastination, how the gods have repeatedly granted you further periods of grace, of which you have taken no advantage. Understand that your time has a limit. Use it then, or it will be gone, and never in your power again." A strong person knows that life is only lived now. They replace "I will do it tomorrow" with the discipline of "I will do it now." Even a small action is a vote for the person they intend to become. They do not wait for motivation, they create it with action, understanding that the burn of discipline is temporary, while the sting of regret lasts a lifetime. 3. The third phrase of a weak man, "That is impossible." The third phrase that reveals a mind locked in a self-made prison is, "That is impossible." This statement is almost never about reality. It is a shield we use to protect ourselves from the fear of failure. The moment you declare something impossible, you give yourself permission to quit before you even start. You surrender all responsibility to be creative, resilient, or courageous. Imagine an entrepreneur with a game-changing idea, but they see the obstacles, the lack of funding, the big competitors, the technical hurdles. They tell themselves, "It is impossible for me to succeed." They are not making a rational calculation. They are building a cage out of their own beliefs. They have mistaken difficult for impossible. The Stoics taught that our job is to focus on our effort, not the outcome. A strong mind does not predict the future. It applies itself completely to the present challenge. Marcus Aurelius gave himself this powerful directive: do not think that what is hard for you to master is humanly impossible, but if a thing is humanly possible, consider it to be within your reach. This does not mean you should think you can flap your arms and fly. It means you should not let your perception of difficulty stop you from trying things that are, in fact, achievable. It is a call to test your limits, instead of just assuming them. The strong person removes that is impossible from their vocabulary. They ask a different question. How can I make this possible? This simple shift turns them from a spectator into a problem solver. An obstacle becomes a puzzle, not a dead end. They might not succeed every time, but they will never fail by default. They live by the wisdom of Seneca, who said it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Four, the fourth phrase of a weak man. If only, or I wish. This next one is the sound of a mind lost in a daydream. The language of, if only and I wish. If only I had more money. I wish I were more confident. If only I had started 10 years ago. This is the language of helplessness. It is like staring at a locked door and wishing it would open, instead of looking for the key. Wishing is not a plan. It is a substitute for a plan. It puts all the power in external conditions and drains the present moment of all its energy. Think of the person who complains about their job but spends every evening just wishing for a better career. They say, if only I had a different degree, I could do what I love. They dream about a perfect future, but take 0 steps to create it. No online courses, no networking, not even reading a book on the subject. The wishing is just a story they tell themselves to stay comfortable and stuck. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered the perfect antidote. Do not seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it does happen. Then your life will flow well. This concept, known as a love of fate, is not about being passive. It is about radically accepting reality as the starting point for any real action. You can only act now, with the cards you had been dealt. A strong person knows that wishing is a waste of the only thing they truly own. This very moment, they replace if only with I will. They do not wish for confidence. They take one small, scary step to build it. They do not say, if only I had started sooner. They say, I will start now. The world does not respond to wishes. It responds to work. 5. The fifth phrase of a weak man. He made me angry. The fifth phrase is a profound admission of emotional immaturity you hear every single day. He made me angry. Listen closely. No one can make you. Nobody can reach into your mind and flip your emotional switch. This phrase is a lie we tell ourselves to outsource the responsibility for our own inner peace. When you say this, you are admitting you have no emotional defenses, that any random person or event can dictate your state of mind. Imagine being cut off in traffic. Her heart pounds, you get hot, and you yell, that guy made me so mad. But did he? The other driver performed an action. That is it. It was your judgment about the action. That was disrespectful. He put me in danger. That created the anger. Marcus Aurelius saw this with crystal clarity. He wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This is one of the most freeing ideas in all of philosophy. Your emotions are not inflicted on you. They are generated by you. And often the consequences of your anger are far worse than whatever caused it in the first place. The strong person is the sole guardian of their inner peace. They replace, he made me angry, I am feeling angry. This tiny shift is monumental. The first is blame. The second is observation. By observing the feeling instead of becoming it, you create a space for reason to step in. You can then ask, is this anger useful? Is my judgment true? You take ownership of your emotions, not as a burden, but as the ultimate expression of your personal power. Sixth phrase of a weak man. I already know that. Our sixth phrase pretends to be a sign of confidence, but it is really the armor of a fragile ego. I already know that. These 3 words slam the door shut on wisdom. The person who says this is not interested in learning. They are interested in being right. They build a fortress around what they currently believe, refusing to admit there might be gaps in their understanding. This intellectual arrogance is the enemy of all growth. Think of an employee in a training seminar. The speaker brings up a topic they have heard before. Instead of listening for a new angle or a deeper insight, they mentally check out and whisper, "I already know all this." They have mistaken familiarity for mastery. They have chosen the temporary comfort of feeling knowledgeable over the permanent power of becoming wiser. For the Stoics, the pursuit of wisdom was a lifelong journey that demanded humility. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, led by example. He wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." It is the person who continues in his self-deception and ignorance who is harmed. The strong person enters every situation as a student. They replace the dismissive, "I already know that," with the curious question, "What can I learn from this?" They listen patiently, searching for a new layer of meaning. They would rather be wrong today so they can be wiser tomorrow. True confidence is not pretending to have all the answers. It is having the courage to seek them. The seventh phrase of a weak man, "What will they think?" The final phrase that gives away dependent mind is the anxious question, "What will they think?" This question is the compass of someone who has lost their own internal guidance system. Their self-worth is not a fixed point inside them. It is a flickering reflection in the eyes of others. They are a slave to external validation. Every decision, from their career to the clothes they wear, is filtered through the fear of judgment. This fear keeps them from taking risks, speaking their truth, and living an authentic life. Think of an artist who creates something they love, but is terrified to share it. What if they hate it? What if they think I am a fool? The joy of their work is poisoned by the fear of how it will be received. They have handed an imaginary jury the power to define their worth. Marcus Aurelius was baffled by this human tendency. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. He constantly reminded himself to ignore the fleeting judgments of others and focus only on his own character and actions. Stoicism teaches that your virtue is the only true measure of your worth. Praise, criticism, reputation, it is all just noise. The strong person builds their self-worth from the inside out. They replace, "What will they think?" with, "Is this the right thing to do?" They act based on their principles, not for applause. They understand that seeking approval makes you a servant to others. This does not mean being antisocial. It means recognizing that your primary duty is to your own rational mind. When you stop needing others to feel good about yourself, you become truly free. Conclusion. So there they are, the 7 phrases that keep a mind in chains. It is not my fault. I will do it tomorrow. That is impossible. If only. He made me angry. I already know that. And what will they think? These are not just words. They are spells we cast that create a life of weakness and reaction. But the wisdom of the Stoics gives us the antidote. Replace blame with responsibility. Replace procrastination with action. Replace limits with curiosity. Replace wishing with willpower. Replace reactivity with composure. Replace arrogance with humility. And replace fear of judgment with the power of your own principle. This is not just a language trick. It is a fundamental shift in how you see the world and your place in it. It is the difference between being a leaf tossed in the wind and being the rock that stands firm in the storm. Your words are the rudder of your soul. Steer them wisely. If this message hit home, show it by liking this video and subscribing for more practical wisdom. Then, go to the comments and make a declaration. Right? I am responsible to lock in your commitment to a life of strength.